Cloud. Okay. All right, so welcome to the June meeting of the 3C Community Engagement and Grants Committee. Meeting, no decisions are made at this meeting. I've sent around the grant applications that you guys have submitted to the other commissioners. Commissioner Siddiqui seems to be the only other commissioner that has joined us so far. So we have these in our hands, and they were pretty straightforward for me. Just a few questions. Well, I can introduce myself first. So I'm Commissioner Janelle Pagets. I'm 3C03 Woodley Park. I'm chairing this committee. So thank you very much for submitting. Why don't we start with Cassandra from Cleveland Park Main Street.
Good evening, Commissioner Pagets and Commissioner Siddiqui.
So Cassandra heads up the District Bridges Cleveland Park Main Streets program. And you guys submitted the grant application for $3,500.
Correct.
And then Judith and Alyssa, am I saying that correctly? Okay. And you're here with Feed the Family and the Ward 3 Food Pantry, right? And that's for $3,000.
Yeah, it's Elisa, and this is Lisa. Judy. I live in ANC3C, and I'm a volunteer with the Feed the Family Pantry. Judy is the person who is the co-founder and pretty much the person who runs the Feed the Family Pantry. So she's better able to answer questions than I am. And so Feed the Family Pantry, we called it both Feed the Family Pantry and the Ward 3 Food Pantry because we, been thinking about possibly changing the name. So that's why I was referring to it both ways, but it's one and the same.
Okay, cool. So I guess we can start with, Swelly, do you have any questions right now that you can think of? I had a few on this one.
Yeah, I have questions, I guess, for both, maybe more on the Feed the Family. And then the District Bridges one, I don't have questions. I just probably have a clarification question. But however you want to do it, Commissioner Pagets, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, if you want to start with the Feed the Family questions, that'd be great.
Awesome. Well, first, Elisa and Judy, thank you so much again for doing this. I know we conversed over email, but I really appreciate you all putting this out. One question I had was, you had said in your application that you had received grants from other ANCs in 2021. One, can you tell us which ones you received them from, and what were the amounts for those grants?
Good evening, commissioners. We received a $2,000 grant from the Glover Park Citizens Association, I believe. I'm not sure if that falls in the same bucket. And we got $1,000 from ANC3F, which is home to the pantry, and $1,950 from ANC3G, 4G, which is in Chevy Chase. And that was specifically to allow us to purchase a refrigerator to make sure that the produce that we're sending to Regency House in Chevy Chase, DC is healthy and food safe.
Sorry, go ahead, please.
That's it for so far.
No, that's great. Because I think one of the things that we want to do is make sure that it goes through. And so we want to make sure that, Commissioner Pagets, I support this application and I am willing to write the resolution for it too. So just one thing that I just want to make sure is that when I write the resolution, it's written in the best possible way. So if you all have access, so the Glover Park Citizens Association doesn't fall under that bucket because it's a private citizens association, but the other two do because they're both ANCs and they're essentially expending tax dollars. So if you have access to the resolutions or letters that they wrote for you in support, if you could send those to me, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm just going to sort of take the language they took because it worked and then update it for ours. I think one thing that would be helpful, I mean, this is not essential, but I think one thing that would be helpful is if you can send also, when you send that email, if you can just send a little bit of justification for why you need $3,000. Again, I am perfectly happy providing $3,000, like writing the resolution for $3,000, but just to get the vote passed and have it be justified, it's probably good just to include that piece of information.
Okay.
Yeah, you did also list on the application 2,500 from 3B and 1,000 from 3C, which I don't recall. No, those aren't, okay, we can cross those out, it's no big deal. And then the other thing, if you have the grant report that you sent in that, what is it, 60-day time period to the ANC and the office, the OANC, we could also, you know, use that in the package that we send over to them to,
Okay.
yeah. Cool. That was actually one of my questions too, was about the past grants. The other thing that I think we want to make sure we revise on this is the project start and stop dates. You have it ending in July of next year. You can probably tighten that up because of that reporting period where if you don't submit how you spent the money within 60 days, then you're required every 90 days to like tell us what you haven't spent and all of that. And I think with what you're requesting here with the laptop, the shopping carts, and then the 1,600 for the supplies, based on the last grant that we issued to the Ward 3 mutual aid folks, that money goes very quickly. I think that they spent, what was it, like $3,000 in like less than 2 weeks with buying their supplies that they purchased with that, based on the report that they submitted too. So, and the receipts. So yeah, just wanted to note that.
Commissioner Packets, that's an interesting thing you brought up. Do you think it's useful for them to just put a deadline for this year? Because there might be there's going to be a new, well, there's going to be redistricting and there's going to be a new commission next year too. So I don't know.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should make it the December of this year. So that when the new term starts January 2nd, right? It's not in the weeds.
Yeah, if you can spend by, I would say, December 1, right? And then submit us a report like a week later or so that we can approve everything. That'll be the best thing, because then we're 100% sure that everything's clean and you don't get stuck because of a local election or something.
Absolutely. Thank you for that reminder. And then the questions that, or the questions that I have about certificates of good standing and the clean hands actually kind of apply to both of these applications. So Swali, did you have any more questions on the details of this one? Okay. So I don't recall with the last application if we required or were required to submit that good hands paperwork and certificates of good standing.
I'm not sure. I do know that, I mean, it needs to be someone that can receive a check
Yes.
from the government, right? And I know for Ward 3 Mutual Aid, that was actually a different organization. So we just needed a letter that was going there. Do you all have a different one?
We have a fiscal sponsor.
Okay.
The International Women's Democracy Center. Is this a requirement from the OANC? Because we haven't heard of it before.
Yeah, that's what I need to double check on for the particular ANC grants. I know that other district grants do require you to provide that, but to my knowledge, we did not get rung up for not providing it last time. It was just that we did have to have that letter from the group who we cut the check to, that they were the fiscal sponsor of this, or had the bank account that would then be transferring the money over to the folks at the organization. So we should be fine on that, as long as we get that paperwork.
Yeah, if you can provide us the evidence of the fiscal sponsor and then just a signed I mean, I think even an email is fine, just as long as we have some documentation that we can show that your fiscal sponsor is them, and then that money will really go to you. That's really all we need.
Okay.
Yeah, we did submit one certificate, one of the two that was listed in the application. They cost $50 each to get. So
yeah, that drives me absolutely crazy. Because this is another thing with Cassandra's application where a bit of the money is being asked for folks to get the paperwork that they need to provide back to their own government to then qualify to get additional funds to keep their business open. Yeah. So anyways.
So we've submitted one, but do you think we need to submit the other?
I think, which one did you submit? Sorry, I didn't print the whole packet now in front of me.
I think that we submitted the certificate of good standing. I don't think we submitted the clean hand certificate from tax and revenue, but I'm a little.
But we have your tax filing, which essentially is like what puts you in good standing is if you paid your taxes, and you don't have like a stand-up location that DCRA would be ringing you up for not, having your certificate of occupancy in order, right? Or do you have that? Well, you do have your pantry. Let me go back to OANC and double check on that if you would need both of those.
So, okay, yeah, if you could, because we can certainly spend the other $50 and get it. Just,
I'd rather the $50 go to getting supplies for people in need than.
Yeah, we did submit the good standing, not the clean hands.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the next steps are we'll work on the resolution to put in front of our July meeting, which is July 17th. I have a calendar. July 18th.
Yeah.
7:30 to put in front of the full commission for the vote and then the hopeful approval of this. And then we'll go back and forth via email with any loose ends that we need to tie up with the rest of this paperwork. But yeah, if you can get us at a minimum what we requested already to start with, that would be great.
Thank you. I don't want to cut into Ms. Hetherington's time, but I also don't want you to be taken unawares. We have an update on our space, which is that UDC is asking us to vacate by the end of July.
Okay.
So we have no intention of stopping our operations. We have hundreds of families that depend on us, but it could be a little messy for the next month because we are going to be campaigning heavily to get UDC to find us some space. They say that they have, they're 99% sure that they have a paying party for the space that we're in, which is the rear of the old Walgreens building at the corner of Vesey and Connecticut. It's a perfect space for us in so many ways. But they have been trying to unload it because it's quite expensive for them to keep up, and it's empty other than the pantry. So we've been asking them to find some space on UDC's in their territory. They lease a lot of space around the campus. So I just didn't want you to be, if we should get some press, to be taken unawares. We're trying hard to stay put. But it could be that there are going to be a couple of weeks when we can't serve at the level where we're serving now. We would be going back to just shelf stable food, which is so not the point of our pantry. The point is to to provide nutritious, fresh produce and cleaning supplies, which many people don't realize you can't buy with food stamps.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate.
Yeah, it's UDC apparently is doing this to everyone. Like the wine bar is also closing. Not that the
Correct.
wine bar in your all's place the same, but it's yeah, it's they're kicking a bunch of people out, which is really really bad. Thanks for letting us know. I mean, we and also you're not cutting into anyone's time. This is your time, so please do ask us any questions or make any comments. We want to make sure that these applications are done and done in a good way.
Thank you.
How long have you guys been in that space? Sorry if you already included that.
We opened in May of 2021.
Okay.
And they did, UDC did put us on a month-to-month lease earlier this year. So it's I have to acknowledge that they have let us know that this is temporary, but we just don't see the urgency, frankly. We haven't seen any sign that anybody is moving into that building. So we're trying to appeal to the president of UDC who hasn't yet visited the pantry. And if you all would like to visit the pantry, this will be quite a good weekend. We have lots and lots of produce coming in from various places.
That would be great. People could visit. Yeah, I mean, UDC, I'm paraphrasing what Judy told me, but UDC had said, okay, well, you can give food away outside, in our quadrangle. But the problem was that there's no storage space. And we badly need the refrigerators because we're giving away produce and so forth. We need to store donated cleaning supplies and other donated shelf-stable goods. So it just it just kind of defeats the whole purpose if we don't have the storage space that's really essential. We also are looking at alternatives for where else could we do this. Connecticut Avenue is really short of recreation centers. There are more recreation centers along Wisconsin Avenue than Connecticut Avenue, but Connecticut Avenue is kind of like the epicenter of food insecurity. So that's why that location is so good, because that's where you have the most food insecurity in our ward. But there certainly is a good chunk of it on Wisconsin Avenue. So we will be looking into what the alternatives are, as well. And any advice that you have, we'd be interested.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I wonder what the back of house at the library might look like to potentially have it there. Cassandra looks like she's agreeing with me.
I was just wondering about the library. I was trying to figure out what to do about the refrigerators, though.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what their back of house looks like, but I'm sure they have to have one.
I have meeting space all down in the basement, but yeah, the house, offices.
Well, it's a potential thought.
But
yeah,
yes,
it's a good idea.
It's a very good idea.
Can I make an offer to you both? I don't know if it's too far away from you, but every Saturday, Cleveland Park Farmers Market, we have it in front of the Uptown Theater, and we invite community groups to have a table there. So I can put you in contact with our market manager if you wanted to set up a table, and if you had any, right now it sounds like things are chaotic with losing your space, but the market goes until the middle of December. I think it's like December 17th is the last day. But if you wanted to set up a table and have somebody there talking about feed the family, that's the program, maybe solicit donations or something like that, I would be more than, we're more than happy to let you come and do that.
Well, thank you so much. That's really generous. We'd love to do that.
I'll put the email address of the market manager in the chat.
Okay.
She has a real full-time job, so it might take her a few days to get back.
I do too.
Those pesky real full-time jobs.
The UDC farmers market, the people donate, and Judy can speak to this better than I can, do donate unsold food to the pantry, but the pantry is you know, the farmer's market runs on Saturday and the pantry runs Sunday, so that there isn't any kind of conflict. Because I'm sure the people at the farmer's market are eager to sell their produce, which they need to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we glean through Food Rescue, and we actually just haven't gotten to Cleveland Park to see if we could set something up. But it's a nice model because Food Rescue fights both hunger and food waste, and then anything that we have left over that we can't hand on to another NGO, we give to the gardeners at UDC to compost. So it's a nice circle.
Very good. Yeah, it does sound like you have a very circular setup going on there. I like it. Awesome. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And yeah, I will, I'm sure we'll have a think about, you know, asking some folks about potential for space moving forward. And we'll see what we can do too, talking to some folks over at UDC and lobbying on your behalf.
What I've said to Judy is that if UDC could be somewhat visionary about it and consider this as something that they're doing, not as something that outside people are doing, this could be a great opportunity for them to fundraise, to get more donations, to apply for grants, because to improve community nutrition, they have an urban agroecology program. So they're trying, this is part of their mission, is to improve the nutritional status of the community. So that's part of what we're hoping to convey to the president, that this could be something that UDC takes under its wing, and it could be beneficial for UDC as well as the community in terms of the fundraising, the donations, the prestige, student internships, helping further their mission of improving nutritional status in the urban ecology program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that makes total sense to me. But yes, that would require some visionary thinking. Sometimes that takes some convincing to get them there. So happy to help any way that we can, for sure.
Have you reached out to Edmund Burke?
We have not yet. I would really like to exhaust the possibilities at UDC first, because it is a public university. You know, Burke is a really small school, but for that reason, it might be a heck of a lot easier to get a decision out of them and to get a speedy turnaround. So we will, that's on our list. And we do have Burke students who are volunteers at the pantry. So there's already somewhat of a partnership there.
I think we'll be exploring what possible alternatives are while kind of concurrently, while we try to get the president of UDC to see that this is, you know, a good thing to continue.
Definitely.
Edmund Burke is a good idea. The Cleveland Park Library is a good idea.
Well, if you can think of a way that Cleveland Park Main Street can help, I'm more than happy to help.
Thank you so much.
I put my email in the chat. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, I copied it down.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Great. I like the collaborations and connections being made here already.
I have a master's in social work.
It just happens. All right, great. Thank you. All right. I think we can move on to Cleveland Park Main Streets. Okay. So before we cover the clean hands thing, I think we might have to talk about rent relief. I don't know that the ANC can grant that line item, but going back to this clean hands stuff, and the bookkeeping services to pay to get folks books in order. Where are they having the issue with the bookkeeping?
So the issue with the bookkeeping, and I feel like I might be out of sync right now, but it's really when DEMPED or another agency, when they have to apply for a DC grant. The way that the city asks for bookkeeping is not in a manner that most businesses are accustomed to keeping. For instance, they file their taxes annually, but to apply for these grants, they need to do monthly profit and loss statements and just a bunch of other things that they're just not used to doing it like that. And so, their accountants that they hire just to do their annual income taxes, they don't want to do it. This is like too much kind of in the weeds. And so for a couple of businesses, I employed a bookkeeper to just go and help with that. So yeah. So, and what's the time, like when would this money need to be spent? If I was a recipient?
Well, this is another one where we'd want it by December 1st too, just to clear the paperwork and the books for the next term.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, at the time that I wrote this, that was what I was spending a lot of time and money on, was hiring a bookkeeper to help apply for a bridge fund. That was the only one really, was bridge fund.
And they're not waiving the application fees to even pull the certificates of good standing, and that, like,
you don't have to pay to get a clean hands.
Okay.
That's free. Okay. It's everything involved in making sure you have clean hands, like making sure you've got all your personal property taxes filed. That's something that I hired a bookkeeper to help with. Making sure that everything is good with DCRA, all the bits and pieces of that. So, but the actual clean hands itself, that's free.
No, that's good.
You just push a little button in your account.
Okay. So if the 15 hours of book, about how many businesses would this help, would you estimate?
For that amount of money, it would help. Hold on, this is math. It's not my strength.
Nor is it mine.
Okay, good. It would be 30 hours. 30 hours.
But like how many hours is each business, like, you're finding them need this service for?
It varies. Either they're very needy, maybe 4 hours, 5 hours. It just depends on what their books look like. Most of them it probably 3 to 5 hours over time.
Okay. Okay, so do you have more questions too?
I mean, I had one of that question about you had, like, I don't know if we can pay, like, what we can pay for, what we can pay. I'm also like, I don't know. I mean, Cassandra, same thing. Like, do you know if any other district bridges has gotten a grant from any other ANC? It doesn't need to be yours, but like.
Yes, I do know for sure that they have gotten a grant from the ANC. I don't know what it was for. Okay, if you can figure that out and send us something to write it up, because that'll really help us, right? Like this one, the whole thing is like, it's like tax dollars, right? So even if it's allowed, like what we don't want is someone being like, hey, tax dollars are going to businesses, like that type of, you know what I mean? Like we have to be a little careful, and the more we have like documentation that worked,
that we can mimic, I think the better it'll be.
Okay.
That would be my only thing.
I also have an email into ANC to ask for clarification about this too. They just haven't responded yet. So maybe I'll send it to more folks.
Here's something that I've been thinking about, and I'm just curious if this might be a better fit, is public art project and hiring a project manager for that. Is that a better fit or no?
So that would be for public art on the commercial strip.
Mm.
But it would still go to District Bridges, right?
It would come to Cleveland Park Main Street, and then it would go to a project manager.
Right. I mean, definitely better than rent, right? Commissioner
Yeah.
Packett? Okay.
But like, I've seen this come through ANCs in the form of like, we buy like the supplies, like the whatever art palette paints, metal straps, whatever. That way it's more of that product at the end of the day than it is like the payment of somebody's like rent or salary.
I see. Okay.
Because that's more of a tangible, like something that the community can then see, go touch, like that kind of thing, rather than like, you know, something that appears in paperwork and book.
No, that makes sense to me. I have a meeting to try to get the animals on the lamppost like they have on Capitol Hill. Have you seen these?
Oh, I've seen, I mean, yeah.
Animals.
Beds and stuff.
Yeah, I want, working with Woodley Park, we want to see if we could bring zoo animals to the lamppost all up and down Woodley and Cleveland Park. So, but, and also now that I've, Cleveland Park Main Street gave $30,000 in small grants, I realized $2,000 is not enough for rent relief anyway. Yeah. It's like,
no. Not in this part of town.
No, 9 out of 14 businesses asked directly for rent. And we weren't able to fund 2 of those. And of the ones that did ask for rent relief, we were only able to give them each $2,000, which is really nothing. I mean, it's better than nothing, but it's not a whole bunch of relief. So. It's really difficult right now for the businesses, as you know, and we just got to figure out a better way then to come to the ANC and ask for how we can support them. So,
yeah, I mean the folks with the bigger budgets, they're definitely not the ANCs in this kind of rent relief world.
Yeah, that was adorable of me. So.
No, but I get what you're saying. Like there's another nonprofit organization that was doing research that DC was charging them for pulling public records to do the research. And then the DC government was then using the research in certain elements of things that they were putting out there. And I was very frustrated by.
I find it frustrating that the DC government charges us for permits because it just goes back to another agency. It's ridiculous. So
the fact that Robert had to go to 9 agencies to just have one event is definitely not the best use of his time or your time or really anyone's time.
Nope.
But like, yeah, I mean, even if you had like to design these things that you're talking about in the street posts, and DDOT will probably have something to say about this and having them be designed to standards. But if there's like some kind of competition to make it something different, or I don't know. But yeah, I think that's probably
like a more public element to it, you're saying?
Yeah, like kind of how you had the competition to name the panda thing.
Okay. Nope, because this is just a one-time opportunity, right?
What, for the ANC grants?
Mm-hmm.
No.
how often are you allowed to apply an award? I mean, you could probably apply as much, but how many times are you allowed to be awarded?
I don't think we have a rule that says anything about that, because the ANC sets their own rules based on what we're allowed to do by the law. And I don't think the law stipulates, as long as you're following the rules and filing the proper paperwork.
I think there's some rule, right, that we can't give out more than one per organization, like at any given time per year or something. Like I know we gave Ward 3 mutual aid twice, but that was because of COVID and thing.
I'll double check on that, but okay. I thought it was at our discretion. But that might be in the emergency legislation too. You might be right about that. And the emergency legislation goes till November now.
Yeah, so I don't know. I remember it being like it's a one-time thing, because it's not supposed to be like something you're supposed to depend on the ANC for, right? Yeah. So it can't be like, hey, I'm getting 10 years worth of this funding and the ANC has to just keep paying you for 10 years. But again, I don't know. I remember it being a one-time like that type of thing, but we can, I mean,
that's what I thought I saw as well. So, okay. I will go back to the drawing board. I will get your money one way or another.
The best way to get our money, which by really I mean it is our money, it is taxpayer money. And unless you all have noticed this, Commissioner Pagets and I are very adamant on using this money for the betterment of all of you. Our ANC did not used to historically give out grants. This is really Commissioner Pagets who's done all this work to even enable that we can do this. So we really want to do it. It's just we once Commissioner Pagets dug into the details, it was like there's so many roadblocks to this. So we're just trying to make sure that we follow all the rules and we can get the money. But yeah, it is our money. It's all the money we pay in taxes. So
yeah, no, that's fair. Okay.
So Cassandra, the easiest thing would be, I would say, if you want to figure out a way to get the money, is figure out what ANC gave District Bridges a grant before, what was it for, and we will just copy it exactly, and that's it.
Okay. I mean, I appreciate the process because it's been very educating. Educating, is that a word? I'm tired. Yeah. And if, again, I offer sincerely, if you need my help with this pantry, so this is just breaking my heart over here. So
thank you so much. Do you know whether, two questions. One is the impact of redistricting on your ANC. Are you going to be, is Sedgwick Gardens moving into your territory? Okay.
Yep.
We have a lot of clients from Sedgwick Gardens. And the second question, sorry, I was just going to ask if you can spend ANC funds on food, not receptions clearly, but this was something that we ran into with other ANCs last year. You could not.
Yeah, that was in the emergency legislation that's allowing us, and that's been extended.
Okay.
Judith, are you working with Gloria at Van Ness Main Street?
She interceded with for us with UDC when we first established the pantry. Do you work with her?
I know her. She's not one of my. I know her. Yes, I can work with her if I need. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure that she is an ally for us right now. I have nothing to pin that on. But she's been one of the people that's really been pushing UDC to, expand its retail presence on Connecticut. And so one of the things that has been repeated to us is you, Ward 3 community, you ANC, and you Van Ness Main Street, you wanted more retail. We're giving you more retail, and now you're complaining because the pantry is being pushed out. So I just haven't, I told her that, what's going on. I asked if she had any ideas, and that was the end of that. I haven't heard anything. So not yet. We've Mary Che is writing a letter. They should get tomorrow. Matt Fruman is working with us, and we're trying to get the Post interested in doing a story. So we'll see how far we get.
I'd like to point out that the pantry has been described as a speakeasy in terms of how its appearance, because it's in the back. It runs off the alley. So it's not like it's really competing for retail space. You know, if retailers were to use it, it would just be purely as storage, but it really is a very small space that runs off an alley. And so I guess I just don't see it as, you know, the retail wants to be where the windows are, you know, facing Connecticut Avenue, not facing the alley. But that's just my 2 cents. I do have one question, which is you gave us some helpful advice about ways to revise this, like revising the time frame. So do I just rewrite that part and resubmit it via the same link? I just wasn't sure about that.
I can take care of that on my end and not make it more complicated. Yeah. Just
okay, so I can just send you an email saying, per our discussion, we like to change this. Okay.
Yeah, and we'll put it too in the resolution that we'll compose for this. So you'll see it as well.
Great.
Cool. All right. Anything else from anybody?
Welcome home, Swale.
Just got in today in time to make this.
Well, it's been beautiful weather, so go enjoy it, everybody.
I know.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for your work and for participating in this. It's just great to see.
Thank you so much.
Really
it's way more fun than the bike lane meeting earlier today.
Oh, I bet.
I'm going to go into that one tomorrow night.
Same.
You're going to be at the in-person one?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Wouldn't miss it for the world.
Let me know if you want to meet beforehand.
For drinks?
I think you'll need something harder than drinks for that.
Yeah. I can't leave work at noon, Cassandra. Come on now. All right.
Nice to meet you all.
Have a good one.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.